Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our February 4th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tricia? Roll call.
Mr. Olja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Babalani?
Here.
We need approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 21st. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 21st, 2013.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Yes. Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Olja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2013-03 in the amount of $330,392.94. Dr. Hayes.
Come back to me at the end or something.
Okay. Lee.
Yeah, I got a few items here. Page 1, under Mayor Council Elections, PM Surveying, Property Services, Survey Services for Red Dam, $1,006.25. Shouldn't that have been included in the price of the sale?
That was the final surveying to get that arc length for the road. That was part of the issues
Glitch?
we had to deal with, yeah.
Okay. And then under Administration, Financial, Legal, second from the bottom there for Paul Glendon, asked me arbitration fee of $1,540. And on page 4, there's the same thing under the electrical arbitration fee, the $1,540. That's for the two, or was that cost split up?
Well, the cost is split 50% with the 50-50 with the union, and there's two arbitrations.
Okay, and the union did pay 50% of that then?
Yes, they have their own
Okay,
invoice.
and I'd like to mention we did win both cases, so our money was well spent on that. And under Police Department, halfway down, Michigan Police Equipment Company, 1 Glock, $523.75. I'm assuming that's in the contract where we buy our police officers their weapon?
We do supply the weapons, but also because of the discussions that are going on nationally with the clip size, semi-automatic weapons issue, gun control, there's a flood out there for requests, or there's a large number of requests, and it affects the police officers as well. So this is something that, depending on what happens, we felt like we needed to get another firearm.
And now, is this firearm going to be for that officer, and when he retires, does he keep that, or is that property of the city?
This is the property of the city.
Oh, okay. That's all I have.
Mark.
Yeah, I had a couple that Lee got answered. I know this is an ongoing deal here with the DTE for the City Hall here. I was wondering if there's any programs where we could do anything solar-wise through WPPI and try to offset some of those costs. I know it's expensive for solar, but is there any money out there where we could look at that in the future?
We can look at it. There are programs, potential programs. You have to look at your paybacks, and with our hydronic heating system, you'd have to add the glycol, which makes it a little more problematic up here. So from a heating standpoint, that's the part that kind of makes it a little more.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was any programs, but it seems like, $700 for 1 month is a little bit high, but I know it's normal. Page 3, under the fire department, the tower space. I take it that's up by the ski hill, 600 that was billed out for the North Alert, and the rest of it for the fire department on 600, and then that's also on another page, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Under police. There's, with the radio frequencies, they're all separate antennas for that stuff, or does?
It's all on the same tower. The contract's always been $1,800 for that. I think originally it started just being billed to the police, then they split it up with the fire. Now we paid North Alert share, they're gonna reimburse us. The only reason we did it that way is they don't have a meeting now until almost the end of February.
That's annually, I would imagine? Okay, yeah, because I've never seen it split up like that before. Mead and Hunt on page, I don't know, the page numbers here are messed up. Second to the last page. Under the water, what is that one for? It's aeration, no. What is it here? It's the Mead and Hunt charge for 2,500. It's halfway down.
Under the wastewater?
Under the wastewater, yeah, second to the last page.
Wastewater.
The page numbers are cut off. It's 2565. Is that for that upgrade, Joe, that's
that's
being
the-
done down there?
That's the engineering for the aeration system, for the digesters. They have to
Okay.
keep the oxygen level up, so.
Is that just one payment, or is that a multiple payment?
No, there's several payments. That's an ongoing project. It's the engineering mark for that project that we looked at for, to get some monies through WPPI for, to put variable frequency drives in and new blowers and all that.
Okay. And then on the last page, under the water fund, I see that nice box we got for the back of the truck. I don't understand why that's on the water fund and not on the streets.
That's
12,000?
because when we patch, most of the patching that's done, the large, especially large patches, are done normally during the water projects. So your water utility is responsible for, putting the road back into condition. So that's why it's run under the water department.
Okay. Because I thought, the majority of it would have been like for potholes and stuff.
I think when you look at a volume at the end of the year with the work that we end up doing with the water department, it's probably majority is going to come out of the water. I mean, we will use it for patching, obviously, for the street department.
Okay, that's all I have.
Chris?
No questions?
Dr. Hayes?
No, he got my question.
And I don't have any other questions either. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve manifest 2013-03 in amount of $330,392.94.
Second?
Motion made by Mark, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to come up and address the council on the minutes manifest or any of the agenda items? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there will be a comment period for on any subject at the end of the meeting. Okay, starting off this evening, we have two things in our appointments and presentations. The first one is the QPAD agency voting board member, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City of Norway is a member of the Central Upper Peninsula Planning Agency, and called QPAD, and they have representation on the QPAD board based on different groups that are members, such as the cities, the three cities in Dickinson County, Norway, Iron Mountain, Kingsford, go together to have a representative. The county has representatives, townships have representatives. So with the three municipalities in Dickinson County, every third year, the city, or actually every sixth year, because they're 2-year terms, we take turns as to who will be that representative. And this year, starting this year, the City of Norway is again up for appointment for a representative, to represent actually the three municipalities. I did sit on it the last time, and I guess unless there was someone from the council, member of the council, would like to sit on the QPAD, I'd be willing to be your representative again. Again, it would be for a 2-year term. They meet quarterly at different locations around the district. So,
That district rate, that's strictly UP.
yes, it's central UP. It's Marquette, Schoolcraft, Delta, Dickinson, Menominee,
Alger.
Alger. No, they're in what they call Wupperter, which is the western Upper Peninsula district. And then there's an eastern district.
Ray, what does it cost us to be a member of the QPAD annually?
I don't know what the costs are on the top of my head. It's based on your size, you know, how large you are. Mary, you wouldn't happen to know that off the top of your head, would you? I think it's somewhere in the range of about $700, somewhere in that range, $1,000. We use QPAD quite a bit when we're doing our planning efforts. We utilize their office for a number of things. They help us with administration of grants. So,
Is there a branch of that? I know they had studied like saving money as far as the lighting, and is that a different branch of QPAD? Didn't they do the light study?
no, they didn't do the light
Who
study.
did the light study as far as changing the lights and?
Well, QPAD is an organization that's actually developed, I believe, through legislation. It is a government entity that's developed for regions across the state. They would help administer or work with us if there were, say, programs through a state agency, MISTA.
Are they the ones administering the grant for the downtown work?
They do administer the grants, yes. That's one of their main functions is the grant administration. A number of programs, or most of the programs that we get, both federal and state, require some sort of administration. It's a lot of busy work. The engineering firms can do it, but what happens is you have statistical type and reporting type activities, and they're just not, they can do it, but you're paying more to have engineering firms do it. So QPAD fills that role. So we work together with them to get that done. They do help with working with some of the grants. They administer some grants or some mini grants.
I was
that
under
they
the
have.
impression that QPAD had something to do with when the study for the city hall lighting took place, that was a part of QPAD.
No, I
No?
don't believe so.
Are you thinking the E2P2?
Oh, yeah, excuse me, that's what it is.
Yeah, that was a
Okay.
separate state program.
Okay.
But I know that some of the energy efficiency programs that come out of, and I'm trying to think of the department at the state, QPAD will help, you know, with some of that.
Yeah, it was E2P2.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Okay.
Hey, does anyone on the council want to be our voting member for the next 2 years?
Make a motion, Ray Anderson, be our voting member for QPAD.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, next on the appointments and presentations this evening, we have Tom Gordon from from Kaiser Hydro here. He's going to give us an update on the Sturgeon Falls Hydro Project.
Okay, well, I was here last month, and I presented a schedule for the remainder of the work. And right now, we're on schedule. We've got KR West, who is doing the hydraulic plumbing. They were in part of last week. They're coming back in this week to finish up. Next week, we'll be starting with the electrical work. L&S Electric will be here for the first 2 days. Ram Electric is going to be working with our electricians from Kaiser. And we've got 2 weeks in here to accomplish all of the electrical work. And that should be no problem. Then after that's done, we're going to be doing the start, so the electrical will start on the 11th of February, running through this 22nd. Then we'll be starting up the machine on the 4th of March. We figure that's a 2-day effort. We've got a week scheduled in there just in case it doesn't start up as expected. Putting us done with the project on the 8th of March, and we're still, so we'll be up and running, everything will be good to go. And we still got the date down as the 23rd of March when spring runoff could start. But that's beyond our predictions. Our predictions on the schedule, we're holding right on there. We're aggressively managing things to make sure everything goes smoothly and we're done when we promised we would last month. If there's any questions,
With 3 and 4 being down, we're not using those units right now anyway, Joe?
Unit 3 and 4, there's not enough water to use those
Right.
right now.
That's
U-
it.
Unit 1 is the main machine, and that's not even at full capacity. We're only running 3 of the turbines on it, and we have another 700 cubic feet of water before we would get to full capacity on Unit 1.
Okay,
So,
I just wanted to make sure.
yep.
What is the river flow right now, Joe?
1,100 to 1,200 CFS.
Joe, do you have any questions for?
No, I was down there today and talking to the workers, and so I have a good handle, and Tom and I have talked on the phone last week several times to talk about things and how it's going, so.
This cold weather's not affecting any of your work down there?
well, it's cold. You know, we deal with ice coming through the stop logs and things of that nature, but, you know, in our industry, you have to work in the winter because, you know, everybody wants everything ready for spring runoff, so it'd be nice if it was warmer, but we're doing okay.
Anybody else, any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in our communications for this evening, we have 4 items on the agenda. The first one is Resolution 2013-04, Property Annexation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last meeting, council moved to purchase some property to south of town, just outside the city limits. That property is vacant. It butts up against some other vacant property owned by the city and our park. And per the Public Act, Home Rule City Act, we can annex that property by resolution. What we provided you this evening is that resolution and for council's consideration and approval. And I can answer any questions, I guess, at this time if you have any.
Are there any questions, comments?
I got a couple comments here, Jeremy.
Okay.
I notice this move is good for the city. I know it's legal, but I kind of struggle with the morality of it a little bit because we've got such a good relation with the township. And I hope this doesn't damage that relationship because basically anything built on these properties out there now, the city will get the millage from it. And maybe it was all in the timing here, but I see we got a note saying how many new houses were built in the township and the Dickinson County actually for the year. And last year there were 34 new homes built in Dickinson County. 26 of these homes were built out in the townships. Now most of the people I know who built in any township, they do it for 2 reasons, not necessarily in this order. 1, they like a little more elbow room, and 2, they like to go out there to pay the 10 to 12 mils property tax, less than it would be in any of the cities. There were 2 built in the city of Norway, new homes. Those are both Humanity homes, Habitat for Humanity, which was very good. And I struggle with this, and I just hope down the road it's good.
I can tell you, Lee, that we did work for a number of years on trying to work out a 425 agreement.
I know.
And The township basically said no. After we worked on it for so long, they said no. They no longer wanted to proceed with it. That's why we even looked at other options.
No, and again, like I mentioned at the last meeting, the price we paid for it, for this property, and it's a nice property, it was a fair price. I'm not knocking that, just, the dollar figure had me a little nervous, but I said my piece on it.
I agree, and I think it will, for a while, it will strain relations with the township. I can tell you that we have informed the township supervisor prior to tonight that we were moving forward. So they were given just a heads up on it. So it wasn't like some of the problems we've had when we did the garbage with the surveys, where they didn't know. We did let them know ahead of time. And like I said, we did try to do the 425. We worked for a number of years on it. And if they would have been agreeable to that, we would have done it that way instead. They weren't, so this opportunity presented itself. So my feeling, we had to take it.
I understand where you're coming from, Jeremy.
Well, I'm strongly in favor of this. I think it would be foolish not to do it. And if we could have worked out with the township, that would be fine, but they basically said no, so I think that they've already strained the relationship as far as I'm concerned. Also, we've got our parkland, we got the golf course, Marion Park, the soccer fields, and basically, without this, our police officers have no rights to go out there. And now we've got our property will be within the city limits, and our police officers can respond to problems out there, which I think in of itself is worth doing this. We also purchased 80 acres from the state at a fair price, and it only makes sense. I think that the boundary lines for the city, when the founding fathers set them up, made a mistake. They got all this farmland that should be in the township north of us, and south of us where all the development is, should have been in the city, and because there was no iron ore out there, they chose not to put it in the city. So again, I think this is the right move. The township isn't losing anything. Basically, we don't pay taxes on our land anyway. They had a chance to get, the township had a chance to get revenue from this if there is new construction, and they chose not to. So I don't see why you feel guilty at all or think that there's going to be any harm in our relationship. I don't think there should be. At least I don't see that.
I hope you're right.
Again, they're not losing any tax dollars at all.
I agree 100% with Dr. Hayes, and it's not affecting anybody else's property but the property that the city owns. Nobody else's taxes are going to be moving. It's the lots are very much developable lots, and the city is in a position to extend utilities to make those lots desirable and make the school district grow.
Well, and I just want to, look what Mark just said, this is all vacant property or park property. It's all property the city owns now. No one's house is affected, no one's property is affected. It's all city-owned property at this time, and it's all vacant.
And if the utilities are stretched into these areas and it makes the city grow, then the school system is going to have a huge benefit.
I agree as well. I think it's in the best interest of the city to go forward with this, and it's just going to enhance the city as a whole.
With that, I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 2013-4.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Mark. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2013-05, safe routes to schools. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular resolution has come before council. We brought it before council in August. At the time, we decided to table the motion or the resolution to investigate, trying to help with finding some help with some of the local match. We also spent some time looking at our project, and I think right now we should move forward. We put the resolution together, we're asking council to move forward. We did get a commitment from the bracket fund to help with local match, $10,000 to help with the local match. One thing that has changed between August and today is that the federal highway bill has been passed. It was under a continuing resolution in August from the old safety loop program. In the new program, they did change the local construction, or the grant in the local construction, from 100% down to 80%. So that does add more money to the local match. But one of the things we did, and Kevin Trevelyan from Coleman Engineering is here, and as well as Mr. Lou Steigerwell, from superintendent from the school. We met this morning to go over the project and look at areas to where we had talked in August about having a $30,000 local commitment. And we looked at the project and said, okay, if we have the new 20% additional match, is it reasonable? Can we do the project and maybe rework the project so that we can still meet that original amount? And I think that it's reasonable in looking at it, that we can still put in a nice application. It's probably not going to be quite as large, or it isn't going to be quite as large unless we were able to, or be willing to have a little more commitment. This particular resolution does not have an actual commitment number to it. It does have the language of that we are going to be committed, but in our conversations, we want to try and keep that amount, around that area, because that's what we've been discussing. Kevin, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Maybe I can just expand a little bit on the details of what we talked about today, so everybody knows. Ray mentioned the project would change, it would get smaller. We looked at the prior application from the fall, and what we came down to, and this is open to suggestion, I suppose, is that Section Street would be a priority, and 4th Avenue from Main Street to the school would probably, at least some of that street, make sense to accomplish that as well. So the consequences of that, I guess you could say, are that we wouldn't be proposing any work on Walnut Street or 3rd Avenue as a result of the change in the federal bill. And to that point, we heard a lot of talk about whether or not Safe Routes to School would be in the new bill. Nobody had any idea that if it were to remain, that they would change the game so much. That was kind of unfortunate. But I know last time.
What is the total amount that it would cost the city, including the engineering?
Well, like Ray said, the goal would be to keep that around $30,000.
That would be the total?
I believe 10 of that would come from the bracket fund, so that would result in $20,000 plus or minus to the city.
Is that, you said concentrating on Section Street and then going down 4th. Would that be changing all the sidewalks on that stretch? Or what does that entail? And then the drop curbs for wheelchair access?
Right. We did talk about that today. In order to get more linear feet out of this, we could go and say if there's a good 100 feet of sidewalk on Section Street, maybe we could pass over that bit of sidewalk, fix the worst stuff, and do all of the ADA ramps. We did say that we'd like to concentrate on the accessible ramps for sure.
Is there any manholes that the city would have to change by the ADS ramps?
I'm not aware of any, no.
So the big focus of this is going to be the ADA ramps, because when you look at $30,000, our crew can put down a lot of sidewalk if we're just buying concrete.
Yep, and Ray did talk to that as well. Yep. Yeah, we would focus on ramps and fix the most deteriorated sidewalks along these couple of routes. Our initial budget estimates we would not be able to do all of Section Street and all of Fourth Avenue for the dollar figures that we're talking about today. So there would have to be a compromise somewhere in there.
We had on Fourth Avenue, we had both sides of the street. So one option would be taking one side instead of both. So, you focus your efforts. Again, we had a lot of talk about the ADA ramps, because that's an area that we wouldn't do in-house. So,
Is there any thought of making the sidewalks in those areas wider? I mean, the standard sidewalk is room for one person, and
Yep.
and I see a lot of the kids walking down the streets because they like to walk 3 abreast, and you can't do that on a sidewalk.
We talked about 5-foot minimum, 5-foot sidewalks. And I think some of them are 4 now.
Most of them are 4.
That'd be at least another foot.
I think 5 foot would be a little bit overkill.
5 is minimum for ADA.
Oh, it is, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
5 foot is the minimum standard.
Ray, where did where would we pull the money from for this? I know we're getting 10 from the bracket fund, from our 20. What would that be coming out of?
We don't have a definitive location at this point. It would have to be a combination, I would think, of general fund and we'd look at our street funds at this point,
Yeah, I should talk about the timing a little bit. It's a program run through MDOT. It's a continuing application cycle, but I don't think they're gonna review applications until April or May. So what that would mean is an award probably late summer and construction in 14, so.
As I understand it, it was applications due in April, then, like you said, reviewed in May and
Yeah.
awarded sometime after that.
Yeah, so there's no opportunity to do this project this year, which is unfortunate. It's a long process, but.
Kevin, isn't there a component outside of the construction that the school would benefit from? There's some training monies available.
Yeah.
There's other types of incentives it's not just the construction in the application. There's a number of other areas that we want to try and, we as a community
Safe
want
Routes
to
to
try and
School is a program. It's not an ongoing thing that keeps going after just an infrastructure project is done. These tend to get a lot of the recognition, but it's non-infrastructure portions that go to the school. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they when awarded a grant, they get $7,500 towards encouragement and enforcement items. Schools have bought bike helmets or water bottles or training materials to try and keep kids walking to school. So yeah, there's a non-infrastructure benefit as well.
I know they had done a survey of the students and the parents about walkability, bikeability before. After we did a project, would they be redoing the survey to see if it had an impact on people's behavior?
I don't think that that's required under the program, but I'm sure that maybe Lou and Brad would commit to that. Yeah.
It's a good idea to see your feelings or their feelings of it.
Ray, you had said that some of this is going to come out of the street fund. I'm for the project, but I think we shouldn't be pulling money out of the street fund because we have some serious issues with streets.
And I don't disagree with you, Mark. I just don't have a definitive answer right now. When we're talking of actually making the payment in next year, 2014, we have a number of budget cycles. We have at least 2 budget cycles that we'll go through. There are other factors that hopefully will improve. I do believe, and that's one of the reasons why in August when we talked about it, that I thought we took a little extra time because we know that there's a lot of pressures on the council to get pavement down on the street. So, we're sensitive to that. The program is very positive, and I think there are some things we can do in-house. We can't take the money from the grant and use our people to do it. That's unfortunately not available, but you know, there might be some as we go down the road, like if we concentrated on the ADA ramps, we know we have to deal with the 5-foot sidewalks. That's actually what stalled our 50/50 sidewalk program, because we've been replacing the sidewalks in 4-foot widths, and really what we need to be doing is concentrating getting sidewalks to 5 feet. So when you do, you know, just square at a time, you're never gonna get to that 5-foot level, so you really need to do block by block and really get it. So, you know, this is a program that we can start with, and I know the guys do it, they do an excellent job, you know, when we've have them go out, whether it's the sidewalks or planting trees. I mean, they really have done an excellent job of getting on some of these projects. So, I think down the road, we're definitely gonna see benefits from it. I know that it's, you know, we're struggling, saying, okay, we're gonna commit $20,000 for sidewalks, but really, the overall program is very beneficial to the community, between the school and the city, and getting our kids to school safely. In fact, you know, I see walkers coming up and down Section Street at all times of the day and early evening, because they're going over to Strawberry Lake. You know, they take that area down, cut across. So I think it's gonna be more than just the school activity. I think that's really gonna be a benefit. Plus, that connection between Fourth and Section is also used quite a bit.
I just think that we can't take any money out of that fund for the streets, because it's bad.
Yeah. And
I know legalities, the school can't really contribute anything.
No, they can't.
Is there any way that, anything that they can contribute to for this project?
they can contribute.
Other than
their-
training?
I think what we've done with the school at this point, and I feel really good about, you know, the working relationship that the city and the school has in all areas. And I think that the benefit is that the school, along with this construction grant, is going to have other portions that they're going to put in that they will take care of. And I think the educational component of it, the communications component of it, I mean, I've seen people in the middle of the summer walking on the street. Why is that? There's no snow on the sidewalk during the summer. So there's something about, you know, we should get the people on the sidewalk and not in the street. And I think that's just a community-wide effort to try and get that done. And I think that we're going to be able to carry that message. And I think that's it. That's the positive of this. I think this is a long-term approach too. You know, it's not just this construction project. I think there's a long-term approach, getting the community involved, and you know, I agree with you. You know, as far as the street funds, but between now and the time that, you know, next summer, if the project goes, or we get it, the project goes, I have a feeling that we're going to be able to do something to help offset that number. We could work with other agencies to try and pair, you know, to partner with us. We've been pretty successful with that. You know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 at a clip. You know, this isn't that large to get a couple of those, and we're down to really some smaller numbers.
Out of that engineering process, was that raised ramp from in front of the auditorium, was that? I had some concern about that. Was that was taken out?
Yep.
That's gone.
Okay.
I think part of it here is the 88 corners. I'm assuming when you put an 88 corner in, you put a new curbing around the corner also.
Yep. in the
So
ramp area, right.
if we do a new street, we have to do that. So
Yes.
that's a big expense
Yes.
there that we are saving. If we
Yes.
do a new street, we have to put an 88 corner in with the new curbing.
That's very
So
true.
this is gonna be in with that project.
All of our streets, we didn't do any sidewalk work in all of our streets, yet every single one of them has the new corners and takes care of those corners. And it'll help the drainage in those areas. So, I mean, there's some benefits streetwise.
I think we need to look at those manholes, Joe. I know there's one, I think, on the corner of Mine and Fourth.
Right.
That's got
The
some
catch
issues.
basins, typically they're a little further than where the ramp would be, just up from that, a couple feet. But I know there's some areas on Fourth where the asphalt over the years has went down into that area, and now would have to be elevated up, so there might be some additional
Some adjustments.
work in that
Okay.
area, doing those.
If we're working on, manholes and we're working on drainage issues, you know, those are areas that our utilities are getting involved. And if we have restoration, especially in the curb area, I mean, our utilities could also be part of this. So utilities could actually take some of that, depending on what portion of it, could actually help with that match. If it's a curb area, you know, you could actually claim some of that work anyway towards the match. So a lot of it would be grant, but what we do have there, we could possibly do that.
So we're covering the engineering costs and then the 20%
Right.
of the construction. When are we gonna know an exact number?
Well, what we'll do is take the application that we prepared in the fall, redo the estimate and pare it down to what amounts to about $100,000 in construction estimated. Apply for a grant to cover that, and if that's successful, then we would come back to you with an engineering agreement. At that time, design the project, it's bid through MDOT, bids would be received, the construction happens, and the city receives a bill for 20% of the work.
So how are you saying that if the engineering is 30,000 and we're responsible for 20,000 or 20% of the construction, and the construction,
No, the
give or-
engineering is 15,000. If it's a $100,000 project, it's 15%, so it would be 15,000. And then 20% of,
well, it says on the paper here that the engineering estimated at 30,000.
That was the old.
That was the old project.
Yeah. It was
The old
quite, it was
project was
a-
a much bigger project,
yeah.
so the 15% was more. We're paring the project down, so the engineering costs will go down.
Okay, so the information we got in our packet isn't really,
this was the report that I had last fall.
okay, okay.
Okay, and that 30,000 would include the 20% construction plus the 15% engineering.
What we're trying to do is just keep the cost the same $30,000 figure, so we're paring the project down to get it.
Okay, yeah, I was just going by the information that we just got in our packet here.
You're right, Mark, and that was my oversight, not changing that, but this is the report we had from the fall.
Okay,
My only concern, and I really like this project, but we're leaving the resolution wide open with no dollar
Cap.
amount. I mean, materials could go up 20% or something, and all of a sudden we're hit for $30,000, you know? That's my only concern, is that there's not a limit in here for us to spend.
Is that something that I mean, you helped me with this resolution based on what other communities are doing. Is that something you can or shouldn't do or should do, put in a dollar figure? Or do you think that that's just a commitment we're gonna have?
That, I think, can just be taken care of at the council level. What you're doing with the resolution is committing to fund the local share of the project, which I think everybody understands what that is now. We put in the application for what it is, and then from there, you hire us to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So, we'll stand behind our estimate to make sure we don't get you guys in a situation where bids will come in 30% over our estimate or something like that.
But don't they have to still approve the project? I mean, if we have the design complete and we have our engineer's estimate, $100,000, and MDOT bids the project and it comes in at $120,000, I think we have the ability to tell MDOT, look, we need to take a look at that and we need to shave that off because we're at 100. We have to meet our engineer's estimate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have the ability to shave that down.
Yeah, in all their programs, they work with you that way. You know, in the past, and this is back to the 100% funded days, if you got a project in that was close to the estimate or below, they would adjust the grant amount actually to whatever the bid was.
Because they bid these out with
More or
unit
less.
costs, unit pricing.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you could just take the units out to meet what you need.
Can we
Is-
put some kind of cap on it, even if it's a little bit more, if you say it's 35,000? No, it's not gonna, we're not, local share is not gonna exceed 35,000. You know, we're getting 10,000 from the bracket fund, and then,
You know, you say to take some out of the utility funds to help with some of the curbs and stuff, but there isn't a lot in the utility funds other than electric to play with. And I'm with Chris, I just think that we should have some sort of a cap on here so we don't overspend.
With this is, we move forward with the resolution. Like you were saying, Ray, if we get to the project stage and it comes in, the lowest one's a 150,000 project, not 100, and we don't want to do that at that point. Can we then just reject the whole thing? Say, no, we don't want the grant now?
Yeah. Yeah, you could, I mean, that's,
Then we wasted our engineering cost.
you would have incurred engineering costs at that time, and that's generally not recommended for future
I
relationship.
realize,
But it can be done, yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Jeremy, the engineering cost is what the bulk of the city's gonna be paying for, is to the best of my knowledge, and we'd be wasting that money anyway then. Right? The majority of our cost is gonna be the engineering,
Yeah,
because that's not part of the
that
grant.
is, well, yeah, all of the engineering, and then 20% of the construction. If you guys if you feel you wanna put a max dollar local share amount into the resolution, fine, that's not gonna bother anybody.
is that gonna hurt our chances of getting the grant because we're putting a limit on it?
I don't think so. I mean, the folks down in Lansing will tell us that if that's so, and then maybe I can come back to you or something and ask you to change it. But if that's what you guys want to do to be comfortable with what you're gonna spend, then let's do it. And, if they have a problem, we can always amend the resolution later.
Because we're gonna spend the 30,000 regardless if we keep stepping forward, because the engineering's gonna already be done.
The engineering's gonna be about 10 to 15,000.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, quite a bit less, yeah. No.
I'd like to
And
see
I'm
a
right, there
cap
are
on it.
electric wires going over these sidewalks, aren't there?
Joe?
Probably some light
Yeah,
poles.
they don't parallel. They're perpendicular.
Well, basically, we're talking $35,000 and at 100,000. And we'd have 2 years to get it in the budget, 2 budget years?
Yes, and the bracket fund is committed to 10.
Yeah. So we're talking $25,000 and we've got 2 budget years to get it into actual construction start.
Because I would assume, being it 2 years out, the estimate's gonna go up a little bit, and, you know, just the cost of things.
Yeah, when we estimate these things, we use as much as 5% per year to be safe.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely, even being 6-8 months ago, when these estimates were done, we need to go back and revisit them and fine tune them up for sure.
Because the worst case is that, you know, we get the project, we set it for $100,000, materials have gone up 5-10%, and we can't complete an entire block or something. I don't want us to see us only do part of the project because materials went up.
Or come back looking for more money that we don't have.
What we could do is pull out part of the sidewalk and then just do it in-house. Save it, and get it back to where it needs to be. So, I don't see a problem with that.
I mean, typically doesn't matter which agency we're working with in, you know, if it's our own project or working with some other agency, when you get your bids in and you evaluate your bids, you evaluate it against the engineer's estimate, and your first decision is, are we okay with that? And the second is, if it's vastly different, then you decide whether you rebid it or you take some portions out of it. If you think the unit pricing is what it is, then you deal with your units. I believe MDOT would do the same thing. Now, you know, I was just looking at the resolution. It says, be it further resolved, the city attests to the existence of and commits to the funds necessary to carry out the project. I mean, could we put in there, attest to the existence of and commits to $35,000 of funds necessary to complete the project? Insert that dollar figure.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have a problem with that.
I mean, you put it right in that up to $35,000.
Can we table it if we tabled it for 2 weeks and got something wrote down here? Would that sacrifice anything?
No, nothing. We can't submit this until, well, we have up until April to submit it. We can submit it any time between now and then.
I think we
Well,
should
I
too.
would think that we gotta be able to submit it with just that modification that,
Jay?
Well, it's a council decision if we have till April. If we have till April to make the decision, then there's no reason, if the council wants to delay it, that there would be any harm done to the city. You could use a not to exceed, I believe, in that last paragraph, and just indicate not to exceed, commits to not to exceed 35,000, for example. Whatever number you want to put in is your business.
I guess does 35,000 sound appropriate to everybody else?
And 10 of that'll be coming from the bracket fund.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be a $100,000 project with 15,000 engineering, 20,000 construction. From what I'm hearing, that's kind of what you're targeting anyway.
Yeah, we would pare down the project to get it right around $100,000, yeah.
well, I think with that language put in there, I don't see why anybody would object to passing it tonight. But
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Whatever council's pleasure is.
Make the motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve, resolution 2013-5 with the amended, not to exceed $35,000 price.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, oh, thank you. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2013-06, Marijuana Dispensary Moratorium. Mr. Anderson.
It's a little housekeeping. Every 6 months, we come before council asking for an updated resolution to establish a moratorium regarding the establishment of business engaged in dispensing or dispensaries for medical marijuana. This is something our attorneys had said that we should do right now based on inconsistencies and misunderstandings, or at least confusion with the state law. So I don't know, Jay, if you have anything you want to add to this?
Well, there's the further concern that while the state can pass certain laws, that the federal government prohibits the sale and dispensing of marijuana, at least in a broad sense, as they've done in Michigan. And as a result of that, we have, as city attorneys, recommended that communities adopt this in order to prohibit the opening of dispensaries for purposes of, distributing and dispensing marijuana in the community. I don't think that's anything the community wants. Of course, that's a decision you elected officials make. But our recommendation is that's the way you want to go, that we would review this every 6 months and adopt appropriate resolution.
Is there an amount of time that we can keep pushing this, Jay, or do we have to make a concrete decision?
No, I'd have to take a look at the statute again. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I don't believe there is a prohibition that you can only do this so many times.
We can only do it for 6 months, or can we?
That's a 6 month, is
6
the
month.
period of time.
Okay.
I believe this is our third time on it, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, I'll make a motion that Resolution 2013-06 be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Mark. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Okay, last thing on the agenda for this evening is approval of special events application, Lions Club Picnic, Marion Park. Mr. Anderson.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each year, we receive an application from the Lions Club for having the Lions Club picnic, the annual Lions Club picnic out at Marion Park. I think it's been really positive for not only the city, obviously for the city, but for our park. This is something that has been very successful previous 5 times, and right now, we're happy to have them. Staff, we haven't had any problems. They are it's a very positive relationship, and we recommend moving forward to approve the application as presented.
Does the city have to take out any additional insurance, being there's alcohol served, or that's all part of their organization?
They have to provide proof of insurance that has that.
And we have coverage for that sort of thing in the public events.
I'd like to make a motion then that special event application from the Lions Club be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Does anyone from the audience wish to come up and address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Catherine Hart, N2501 Travis Farm Road in the city. And I have two things today. The first is a comment and appreciation. I had a really positive experience with Joe Pickard and the electrical department. There was a lot of confusion over my solar panel metering system recently. And I just wanted to inform you that Joe really did a good job of straightening things out and verifying the integrity of the system. It was excellent customer service, and you should know that. I think that all too often you tend to get complaints and not good news, so there you go. The second thing is a question, and I'm curious where our electrical bills come from. Is that something that's done in-house, or is it
In-house.
Okay, well, I would like to make a suggestion that perhaps the format be reviewed. In comparing our electrical utility bill to some others, we're missing some pretty pertinent information, like what are we paying a kilowatt hour, for example. There are other really interesting things that we're missing as well, like what are the distribution costs? What are we paying for power from other utilities? What does PCSC mean? There's a whole lot of information that I think I would personally find of interest, and probably a whole lot of other residents would as well. So what's the process to take a look at the utility bill, or is that something set in stone for a certain time period when it's reviewed, or?
That, can I, mind if I
Go ahead.
answer? Right now, our billing system is computerized like everybody else's, but it's a certain, the program that we use.
Okay.
It's the limitations of the program. One of the things we're investigating is going to a different billing program and actually utilizing maybe some off-site printing in that. We're also we talked about maybe some different metering along with that. So there's a number of different areas that we're looking at, but that's something we've talked about in budget hearings as to whether or not to move forward with it.
Okay, so who ultimately makes the decision then? When is that made?
Right here at the council. You
Okay.
know, what we do is we look at the different options and we bring it to council, and they can decide if to move forward or to not move forward. Or
We've discussed it during budget hearings.
Okay.
As to whether we want to invest in software programs to do that, or outside resources to do that.
Right,
That's during
right,
the
there's-
budget hearings in the spring.
do you have experience from bills from outside that
Oh,
you're?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so the rest of the world is doing what you're saying.
Oh, maybe. I believe We Energies does theirs in-house. UPCO uses a service. There are several really good ones, though, and a lot of the information may just be extra information to people. I do appreciate the simplicity of the Norway bill, but for my own purposes, it's missing a lot of interesting facts that I'd like to see on the bill in the future, so, anyway.
Would that information be on our website or on
Well,
For
that's
instance-
another part of the,
the rates that we pay or people pay is variable depending on.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's out on the webpage. I think though, you know, when we talked about, or I think what Ms. Hart is saying is that, you know, there's some breakdown in the cost that
Right.
our system isn't either collecting or putting out on the bill. And that's gonna take a different type of system. And that North Star system we reviewed would be able to do that. In fact, you know, Joe and I have talked, we went back and forth, and what actually stopped that was that the annual maintenance cost for that program was double what all the other programs are combined.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's, from a number standpoint, maybe it's not that it's too high. It's just that's not what we're used to based on all the other programs put together that we have. So it's a kind of a sticker shock,
Right. And
but the program's powerful.
the current software cannot be expanded
No.
at the
not-
city to include other, okay.
No, and we chose the current software because, you know, we have the water, the sewer, the cable,
Right.
you know, with our taxes. So the program that we use is a municipal-based program that incorporates all of that into one. So we're really taking an external program and trying to have them talk together.
Right, right, and the key on the city's program too, I mean, type A, I don't find any explanation what type A is on the back of my bill. What is that? What's A? What's type A?
I'd have to.
Can anybody,
tell you.
I mean, my
Personality.
meter is type A, well, yeah, I know that, but,
That means it's an actual read.
okay, so it's an actual read, all right. So they're always actual in the city, right? Nothing's ever estimated?
Very, very rarely.
Okay,
Yeah, there's been some talk about doing estimating reads, and nobody wants to move in that direction. So,
okay. Well, that is just my suggestion anyway, that at some point if, I think our utility billing system could perhaps be a little more detailed. So, but I would hate for it to cost a whole lot as well. It just would
You have
seem
to
that there
bump
would
up
be
the
some,
bill to pay for the software.
yeah, thank you.
It's the bottom
Thank you.
line that counts.
Does anybody else wish to address the council? Okay, Lee?
I'd just like to congratulate everybody that put an awful lot of time and effort in on the pond hockey tournament. It was a big success. And see, I had something else here. I think it's next Wednesday, Ray, that, where you can buy the lights, they're setting up in the city hall like they did on election day. Is that next Wednesday?
February 14th, isn't it?
February 14th?
I think it's 12th and 13th.
12th and 13th?
They had the same type of deal, I think it was up at the Crystal Lake Center here back this past fall, and the people I talked to that went up there and they said it was a steal where you could buy your LED lights and your real energy efficient stuff. And he said it was really a good deal. And I haven't seen that on our Channel 7 yet. Has it been on?
It's open.
It is on, oh,
It's
okay.
been on there.
It's
And
on Channel 7, it's on our Facebook page,
I must have missed it. I was looking, but
and
maybe
it's
I didn't stay there
also
long
on
enough.
our internet site.
Do we have a sign out here in the city hall maybe to promote that a little bit, everybody coming in?
I have a sign. I gotta put it out.
Okay.
I got one.
That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes?
I'd like to give a personal thanks to Dave Anderson for working with the city. I think the annexation that we did tonight was probably the most significant thing that this council has done in the long term of the city. I think we can get development in the city, and I think it's going to pay for itself over and over again. And I said before that having Marion Park and our golf course within the city limits was an essential thing as well as part of this. And so again, I'd like to thank Dave Anderson for working with the city. And I'd like to ask Mr. Pickard if he's done anything to incorporate in the master plan of the electrical fund about the boundary line.
Yes,
We
I have
talked
had
about
conversation with Dave Krause, the engineer that drafted that master plan, of making an addendum to it to include that. We've had Ray and I have had conversations with Jim Weeks, the Michigan Electric Association, to help us in the effort to get WE notified that we would prefer to have those people on our system because they're in our city limits. And Jim is working on that. So things are moving, yes, in that direction.
And the reason I bring it up is because there's at the corner of Valley View and Boundary Line Road, there's no street light, and there was an accident there which turned out to be fatal. And there should be a street light there, but I hate to see the city paying for We Energies to have a street light there. I think
We
gotta
already
own
pay
that.
for one on Larson, on Botchick Lane. We
Yeah.
pay for one.
Yeah, when I drive down that street, I see all the pink lights until we get to the city's side.
Yeah.
That's all the comments I had.
Chris?
I just made a comment on the ice rink in the city and how in good shape it is, and thanking the volunteers for running the warming shack out there. If you haven't been up there, I highly recommend going up there with your family and kids and checking out the ice. They have ice skates for rent for free, and it's a good time to get out there. It's another valuable asset our city has, and I'd like to see our residents take advantage of it. The only other thing is, Joe, on the salt for the year, how are we looking?
We just received another shipment, would have been last week, Thursday. We have contracted to receive more if we need it. We're fine on the salt. We haven't quite used as much as in the beginning, we didn't have a lot of snow, and now lately, the last couple of weeks, it's been snowing quite a bit, so we've been going through it, but we haven't got even close to the end of our allocation yet.
So about on par is what we were?
Yeah, probably at the end of the year, it's going to be pretty normal. Over the last few years, obviously, years ago, it used to be a lot worse because we had a lot more snow, but
That's all I have.
we're doing okay.
Mark?
The only thing I have is I'd like to see something in our next packet, the comparison on what we spent for cleaning sidewalks this year versus the last couple years. Just curious. I know it's nice to have clean sidewalks, and it's a big plus, but I'm curious to see what we've been spending, because it seems like there's a lot of sidewalk cleaning going on. And hopefully it's not done on overtime.
No. None of it's done on overtime or the walking trails.
That's all I have.
Hey, the only thing I got is, we had been talking, I've been in some other conversations too about Channel 99, and the fact that it's costing us more than what we had expected. Do we have any ideas, plans, what we're going to do about that? Are we going to be continuing it, discontinuing it? What's the council's feelings on it? Because right now, we thought we were getting that channel at no cost, and it's costing us $700 and something a month, $8,500 a year for
Well, that's not worth it.
Channel 99. That's the CBC.
As far as I'm concerned, it could be dropped.
You know, I wasn't under that until Jeremy brought it up, but it sounds like it's, if Jeremy's correct on it, that CCI gets it for free, and we're paying CCI that kind of money to bring that down here?
That's correct, 50 cents a subscriber, and it's in their lifeline.
Yeah, I don't think that, I think it's ridiculous for what we got. We're partnered up with them, and, you know, they don't have to pay for it. I think we need to take a good look at it.
Well, that's my feeling too. That's why I wanted to bring it up, to make sure, see what the rest of the council felt.
Is that a yearly contract on it, or does that go by monthly, Ray?
Well, that's monthly. I mean, we could tell them.
Could chop them off anytime,
We could.
actually.
Yeah, we could drop it.
We talked about trying to see if there were other options. We also, you know, don't agree right now that why it should be, you know, charged the way it's charged, so we're gonna have to talk to them, but ultimately, I think if it's not changed, it's gonna be dropped.
Sounds like we've been weaseled.
What are the sub fees if we pull it in ourselves?
10 cents.
10 cents?
I'm really not sure what CBC, when I talked to Jim about it, if we have to put up a different dish, because the dish that we currently have won't pick it up.
There's an agreement for 10 cents.
Is it?
Yeah,
Already looked
there's an
okay?
agreement for 10 cents.
All right, okay.
So it's a transport fee.
The transport fee is 50 cents a side.
And there was something to do with the dish. I don't understand. I mean, they have multiple, they're hitting multiple birds with the dish that they use. And from what I understand in the conversation, we'd have to put up a new dish just for that, which isn't worth it. But why aren't we able to hit the same birds they are? Is it that our dish should be, the one that they're using should be
They
upgraded?
probably have a dish that is picking up, it's a triple feed. It picks up 3 different dishes, and they may just picking up a different set of those.
Yeah, those are kinds of information I haven't gotten back yet. So, you know, if you're gonna invest in any kind of equipment, you upgrade what you have. It's just kind of a thought I have, and then you would be able to pick that up.
How can CCI pick it up at no cost when we'd have to pay 10 cents for?
Well, I don't know about this no cost. I mean,
Well, there's a
I think-
cost. I mean, it's free to take the signal, but you have to pay to have it on your system. So
Yeah.
Packerland pays a subscriber fee for
Okay.
CBC, but they're charging us to actually transport it down
All right.
or head in.
I mean, we wouldn't be any different. CBC's not gonna treat us any different than they treat them. It's a transport fee, and that's what we have to deal with.
I just kind of wanted also people to have a heads up if 99 goes off the air as to what's going on with it.
Like, maybe we can ask for some feedback too, from people.
I have a meeting on Friday with Joe Esbrook. I don't have a time yet to discuss options and different things about Channel 99. That's what this meeting is mostly about. In my conversations with Jim Briner, I asked about the other dish, if we wanted to keep it and do it ourselves. He gave me a ballpark of around $2,000, and we could put the dish in ourselves and run wires in. And then we would just have the 10 cents per subscriber cost to run it on our stations. So once I get everything laid out, and I'll come back with options and what do you want to do. And
Okay.
so,
One thing I've learned in the short time that I've been in this business, being with the city, every single channel has a following. And whether or not, you know, I watch it or you watch it or somebody else watches, I mean, when we've taken a channel off, no matter how obscure it may have seemed, there are people that enjoy it. So I don't take that lightly, you know, even if it's not in my viewing taste, I don't take it lightly. Some things I watch, I'm sure the staff laugh because they say I'm one of the few people in Norway probably that watch C-SPAN. So they kid me about that all the time. But, you know, I mean, you have to kind of, you know, every station has, you know, has somebody. So we don't take it lightly. You know, if we do it, it's a business decision.
Well,
Not a
that's what I was
personal
getting at. Is
Yeah.
From a business point of view, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have that channel for,
No, not for that, not at that cost. You're right.
I'll bring back all the options and we can discuss them and figure out what we want to do.
and then Channel 11 still looks good, still looks clean, so
Good.
that's good. That's all I have, so, Joe.
Well, you've received the hydro update. You know about the cable TV issues we're having right at the moment. Our 1 ton out of the DPW came back today with the hot box on the back of it. Not a really good time when the snow's all packed on the roads, but if it milds down and snow clears off the roads, we should be able to do some patching with it. So that's the only update really in that. We'll be removing some of the snow.
Do we have the rest of the equipment for that truck to go with it now? The torch, some
No,
of
I
the
haven't,
packet
I haven't purchased that yet, but I intend the packer and the torch. We're gonna start to remove some snow this week, time permitting, along the US 2 corridor. We're not gonna be shutting down US 2 or anything like we normally do, but just grabbing some of the piles that are starting to build up around the businesses where they don't have anywhere to go with it, so they can keep pushing their snow.
How are we looking for payments from them? I know there's like 2
Yeah,
times we can
right.
get paid, and we've been up
Yep, I've
there.
had 2 conversations with David. He's compiling all the hours that we've spent on it so far, and we're including cleaning the sidewalks with the machine also in that, and we're gonna submit all that to MDOT for payment.
And the way they work with that is they have a dollar amount you can hit a year, so if we break it up into a bunch of little ones or 2 big ones, it's the same thing to them.
Yeah. Other than that, unless there was something specific you wanted to know about, can't think of anything else.
Mary? Tricia? Jay?
No, nothing.
Ray?
Other than, let's go a little bit what Lee said about the pond hockey, I want to appreciate or thank, I want to thank everyone who helped put that on. It was a beautiful day, Saturday, and very little in the way of issues. Of course, you know, Monday morning I come in, I want to ask the officers if they had anything, and they didn't. And so it was a good time on Main Street on Friday night. So I think it was good for the community, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. So if anybody wants to participate, I'm sure they'll take your help next year, because that's a lot of work. But again, thanks for everybody who did help.
Okay, we have no executive session this evening, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Mark. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.